living the dream. I'm in love with the lights. This is not just a game. This here is my life. Cameras on me, yeah. Put the cameras on me, yeah. Put the cameras on me, yeah. Put the cameras on me, yeah.
Oh, this is the wrong version. My bad. A lot of questions on it, but you don't know it. So, all right, let's go. You guys ready?
Put the cameras on me.
I'm just living the dream. I'm in love with the lights. This is not just a game. This here is my life. Put the cameras on me, yeah. Put the cameras on me, yeah. Put the cameras on me, yeah. Put the cameras on me, yeah.
Hello, everybody. Live from Koreatown, it's the Ozone on a sunny 80-degree day in Los Angeles. Ladies and gentlemen, you're somewhere cold, and we're not. Don't be jealous. We just wanted to share the warmth. When we have the fires, you don't complain like you want some of that.
That's what the Allah is all about.
It is the lala. Sound like you said that's what Allah is all about.
Oh, no, I'll give you a Allah, not Allah.
That's your,
I didn't convert. Jesus Cristo all day, baby.
All day, all night. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here. I'm your host, Omar Miller. I'm here with my brother from the same mother, Terry Miller, better known as the Icons with a Z.
All right, kissies.
What's the word?
Well, you got it. Let's do it.
Let's do this, brothers.
Let's do it fluid.
We got a lot to cover. We've been off the mic for a little bit, and the world has gone crazy as of last year when they elected Donald Cheeto. But they also went crazy in this past week because there's all kind of stuff happening. We got to talk about the NFL and the double standard that seems to be that one quarterback with a 91.8 quarterback rating was sat down this week. I think you know what we're talking about. We had the international incident going down in China that Cheeto was actually involved in. Looks like he might have done the right thing for once. He's looking for praise for it, of course, but looks like he might have done the right thing.
Do you think that's the right thing?
To a certain degree. This is what we need to speak on about it.
Speak on it.
We had a great fight last weekend with Danny Jacobs shutting up Arias, which is he said he was going to do, and he did it. The kid ran. It was a total
disgusting.
Yeah, I wasn't. You saw my face. But we had some interesting heavyweight action that popped off from that as well. Big Baby Millard, who's somebody who's trying to make some noise in the heavyweight division, got in there and threw his weight around. And our favorite sport is wrapping up. We just had the World Series. It's a little bit of a World Series hangover from the coverage side, but there's a little bit more because it's award season for the Major League Baseball players. And we got Cy Youngs, we got MVPs, we got Rookies of the Year, and a lot of them come from the big markets. We got that to talk about, ladies and germs. We also got a little college football to talk about, but I want to start off with something else. You know, I had my first F1 experience a couple weeks ago down in Austin. I had a good time. It was very interesting. I got to hang out with the champ. Lewis Hamilton has since won. They won the team championship when I was down there, but now what they've done is he's gone ahead and won the overall annual championship for the drivers, which puts him in elite category because he's one of only 4 guys, I think 5 guys, to have more than 3 championships. This is his 4th world championship. But one thing that has happened is at the race down in Brazil, Lewis Hamilton's squad, and I don't know if Lewis was there as well, but Lewis Hamilton's squad was robbed at gunpoint down in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and he said that this is a serious problem. It's a consistency that happens, and he wants to figure out what the hell is going on because there seems to be a situation. You know, you hear about it in Brazil, you hear about how it works, and you think, oh, that doesn't happen with Formula One or with soccer players.
That happens with anyone who has money, right?
It happens
that they assume
even
they have
not.
money.
Yeah, I know a dude that got kidnapped down there, and it changed his life, changed his viewpoint and everything. and his I do believe it was his kid who rescued him.
Wow.
His kid clutched up and made a clutch phone call or popped the trunk or something, and he was able to bail out and escape. And he's not rich, but he's well off.
But what they assume is what's most important at that point, because they assume that you have some cheese, then they're going to get you.
And he's a Brazilian.
Wow.
And so reading from Lewis Hamilton's Twitter account, Lewis said, this happens every single year here. F1 and the teams need to do more. There's no excuse. Now think about that. What if Lewis Hamilton, the world's greatest Formula One driver, was killed in a robbery attempt for something that is the equivalent of less than 0.001% of his wealth, just because he has something, because the organization didn't take the time and the precautions necessary to make sure that everything is cool?
Now, let me ask you this. What kind of precautions can they take? You don't know where he was traveling or what he was doing. So even if he
his team was going to and from, they were going to and from the track. That's the thing. It wasn't like he was out finger popping. They were like, ooh, there's Lewis Hamilton. Yeah, slipping full. And they didn't hit him with that. You know, he continued to say, some of my team were held up at gunpoint last night, leaving the circuit here in Brazil. Gunshots fired, guns held at one's head. This is so upsetting to hear. Please say a prayer for my guys who are here as professionals today, even if shaken. I think there was a typo involved at the end there, but we got the gist of what it was that he was saying. You know, they say security patrols in the area have been beefed up, 700 police officers added. Sao Paulo is supposed to be safer than Rio. I've been down to Rio and fooled around in Rio quite a few times myself.
How did you feel? Did you feel safe?
You know, you can feel the tension. If you've ever been around any sort of impoverished areas, there's a feel that it has. There's always a feel that the tension and the dangerousness of the ghetto has. You can feel it.
Yeah.
And
ghetto tension.
It's a ghetto. It's a ghetto. It sounds like my new mixtape. Ghetto tension.
Coming soon.
With a whole lot of bleach. Mother. It's ghetto tension. Yeah, but you can feel it. You can feel it. And you can feel it down there, but it's mitigated by the fact that the people are so lively and so beautiful, and that, you know, in Rio at least, where the water is and people, there's so many tourists that are there. And for the most part, they're not looking to rob me, even though they may be looking to kidnap me. But they're not looking to rob me because I'm a less interesting mark, because I would fight back in comparison to the...
And I don't have enough money to get you out.
To the Bruh, what happened?
I'm sorry. Sorry. I think the bill would be too high.
Damn.
So I'm just letting them know ahead of time.
Okay. Well, I guess you're going to get hopefully they give me a knee surgery out of the deal. And maybe they'll just...
Hey, I'll send you a couple bucks and get his knee surgery.
If you're going to cut anything off, take my knee. And so apparently what's, you know, when I was down there, they were saying, I had a lot of people, because I was concerned with it, and I had a lot of people say, well, you know what, they're looking for people wearing fanny packs and, you know, the most vulnerable out of the group. Not that I'm above the law or anybody else is, but that's who they're looking for. Yeah, and I couldn't make myself go on a favela tour. What's your take on the favela tour?
I have no take on it. I'm sort of out the loop with the favela tour.
Basically, imagine going to Nickerson Gardens or the Marcy Projects in a tour bus with other people.
I don't need to see that.
Pointing at the poverty, basically.
I've hung out in the ghettos without a tour.
You've done a tour of duty.
I've done a tour of duty. And so now I'm not really going to go to another country and look at everybody else and compare.
So you're not looking for a poverty space?
No.
Yeah. Yeah, see, I feel the same way. And I was there with some well-to-do guys.
Hey, look at that guy over there. He's broke.
They were, yeah, and that's exactly how I put it. I said, man, y'all can keep that. I'll be up at the statue of Jesus Cristo.
Right.
Because I don't need to. Yeah, he's above us.
Spread it.
And I don't need to hang out and
sort of like rubbing it in. I mean,
that's what I felt
I'm
like.
having a hard time. Life is rough, and now you want to come here and exploit
and
me.
take pictures.
So now, when they're taking the pictures, or on that tour, do the people who live in the favelas get any of that profit?
So they say. So they say what the tour, the way that they sell the tour to people who take the tour is, well, they make goods. You can buy the goods from them.
I'm not talking about them making goods and you selling. I'm talking about you giving them a part of the proceeds that you're using to exploit them, like they're in the zoo.
Good and well that they are not using. They're
so
not
in that case,
cheese.
they are a product, and if they're a product, then you need to have people in that bad situation to produce income.
I agree. They need to turn in that intellectual property, which is poverty, which never pays much residual income.
Yeah, that's why it's poverty.
That's why it's poverty. The residual income you get is violence.
Yeah,
and so
of the first-hand nature.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty interesting. I wanted to lead off with that story. It happened a few days ago, but you know, with sports and international sports taking over every corner of the world.
Right.
And people are more and more interested in going everywhere and including all of the countries, it's multinational conglomerates and global corporations who are looking to turn the maximum profit, and that comes from the maximum volume of people.
Right.
you're going to end up in these places where anything can happen. And for people like us who travel a lot, it's always something that interests me when I read stories like that, because it could happen. It could happen anywhere. Anything could happen. And when we were in Paris doing Advantage Omar for the French Open, there was that tense feeling. And it was of a terrorist variety, not of a impoverished variety. You could feel the tension. Guy pulled out a hammer and hit a guy over the head in front of
a police officer.
And, there was just tension. That was when the bombing happened up in Manchester. There was a lot of...
And then they were also having a resistance.
Yep.
Yeah. From the hotels.
Yeah, you could feel it. It wasn't right.
But the police are awesome out there. They actually are friendly with the people. They are actually a part of the community, which was awesome.
I agree. They did exactly what you needed to do.
Protect and serve.
To protect and serve.
Rah!
Speak on it, brother. So I wanted to lead off with that. It's a little, out of the loop, but it's something that I think the people should keep their eyes on because we all, if you're fortunate enough, you travel a lot, you travel all over the world. It's not something to play around with. Now, did you see, moving into basketball, we don't cover much basketball, folks, and the reason being is because we're on a podcast network that has a lot of basketball. And there's some other great podcasts that you could tune into if you want to speak on a pod, if you want to hear more hoops. But you can hear the Ozone's take on a couple things, primarily everything that's going on with the man known as LeBron James.
Always.
Did you see this footage of him?
Doing what?
When he rode the subway?
Oh, yeah, that was cool.
Now, I like it. There's an interesting...
I was surprised that he could ride it.
But that's the thing. If you see it, he's there in full hide mode. Mm-hmm. He's looking like the terrorist. He's got the full beard. He's got the hood on. And it was interesting because you got a team full of 7-foot guys.
That's what I'm going to say. Even so,
he was sitting down.
Yeah.
He was sitting down.
He's still big.
He's big as a house. Yeah. He's sitting down, and anybody who didn't see it, he's sitting down. They had either a 45-minute bus ride to get to the Garden, or they could all ride the train. And if you ride the train in New York City, everybody rides the train. But for the more notable amongst us, it's a little bit more difficult. I've had a few episodes on the train that made me feel pretty uncomfortable because you're stuck. And once people start bugging out, you got nowhere to go.
They just bug it out.
So one thing that I found was really interesting, speaking of poverty, is LeBron James, from what I understand, raised by a single mom and, had a very strong support system of basketball coaches and his friends and whatnot. And he grew up in a poverty-stricken scenario in Akron, Ohio. And now, obviously, he has wealth on wealth on wealth. But one thing that I found really, really interesting was this was his first time ever riding the subway.
Oh, was it?
And if you think about it, that makes all the sense in the world because since he was 17 years old, he's been on.
Yeah, it's true.
So, he's getting chauffeured around. Yeah. And because of that, and because of the fact that he's in his early 30s, so he's really a millennial, he's a part of that generation that documents everything.
Right.
He decided to pull out his cell phone and document him and the Cleveland Cavaliers riding to the Garden, which is hilarious on one level. And you see all of these dudes, most of the guys are standing. LeBron has got a seat. He's sitting down, and it's, presumably because he's trying to hide the most. And Dwayne Wade, though, is standing. And it was a really cool kind of thing. And so LeBron is doing like a panorama of the subway car, and he gets to the guy sitting next to him, and the guy puts his hand in front of his phone. He's like, "Whoa, hey man, whoa, what are you doing?" And the guy gets up and leaves.
Wow.
And you can see the guy is visibly offended. And it was funny because LeBron then follows up and is like, "Oh, good, now we got more space." Because my man decided to leave. Afterwards, they got a hold of the guy. The guy called into ESPN, the Sports Center, and he was like, "Of course I know who LeBron James is, but I didn't think he was sitting next to me." He's like, "I thought it was just some kid that was decided to unauthorized videotape my life."
You need authorization. You need a release.
He needs a release, and I'm not mad, to be honest, because I don't appreciate people just videotape and turn the camera on.
Yeah,
I got a co-star like on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles job that I have. And this kid is a Snapchat crazy. And literally, as soon as you see him, you're like, "Yo, what's up, man?" "Oh, what's up?" Hold on. "Yo, look who's walking up now. We got Big O from Ballers." You know what I mean? It becomes this big thing. And then when you post and you talk with him, he's super normal. But that's the persona for the.
But that's the new era, though. That's how, the kids are. And
kids these days.
Yeah, these crazy kids.
Crazy kids. LeBron proceeded to come back and break the Knicks' heart because he came back from a 28-point deficit.
Because that's what he does.
I think it was 23, 28.
And
then he trolled them. You saw the little baby rumble that happened within his cancer and all that kind of stuff.
And does he don't have no answer for that?
No. Nobody really seems to. But I just thought that was interesting. We got a very interesting matchup tonight that I actually do want to watch, which is the Philadelphia 76ers versus the Lakers.
Embiid versus Lonzo.
Yeah. And, you had that battle of words that took place between Embiid and LeVar Ball in the past. Embiid has since cleared it up and said, you guys think I hate him. I don't hate him. I actually love what he does. And but they're gonna go at it tonight. And that kid Ben Simmons is legit. Both of those teams are teams that maybe you look up 3 years from now and they're actually making some noise.
Right.
But what's your take on Joel Embiid and the reckless talk and, What do you think about your boy Lonzo Ball? You had a great stat you were talking about with Lonzo Ball just popped up.
Yeah, well, he's the first kid. He's the youngest person ever, to record that triple-double.
That's a big deal.
That is a big deal. He beat LeBron out, which is crazy. I really think that the kid's going to have a hard time, just like he's having now, because his shot, they need to change his shot a little bit so that he's able to get it off, because he won't be a scoring point guard at that time. He'll just be a passer, and pretty soon they play you for the pass.
But we all know you don't like scoring point guards.
Well, no, I do like scoring point guards, but it has to be in the flow of the game, not like your OKC stumbling, bumbling crew out there.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, you do. There's only one ball out there, and it's Lonzo. Yeah, but the Lakers actually can make some noise. I just feel like they're in a state of confusion right now. They don't have a consistent team flow or whatever. All of them are young. You have a couple of veterans scrambled in there with Brooks Lopez.
Brooks? I think there's only one of them.
I went decided to go plural.
You decided to go Brooks Robinson. You decided to go baseball on it.
Always. But who did they have? They
got Ingram. They got that kid.
Ingram.
That's
but
the
Ingram's
franchise.
Inconsistent as well.
All of them are inconsistent because they're all kids. They're like a couple months away from being straight teenagers, and that's why they're inconsistent. And none of them are contending. So it seems like at this point, it's
you should get yours, or you should work on your game.
Well, I think they have to work on their unit, to be honest, and they need to work their development to figure out which pieces fit, which pieces need to go, so that in a couple of years, when everybody actually physically develops. I just saw the kid Brandon Ingram, at a Rams game.
He's a stick figure, right?
Yeah, he's shaped like a teenager still.
Right.
He didn't give you man child.
Right.
He's just really tall. He's just stretched out. Lonzo Ball, when I look at him on the games, he still has some developing to do, which I think he'll do. It's just that he's skinny right now.
Well, yeah, and I think that when you look at him play, a lot of times what's going on is that he looks like he loses his confidence at a time, because they take him out in the fourth quarter a lot, but then, too, when he misses his shot, because he has to rush it, he's shooting it from the hip almost.
I don't know what they're going to do. I said that when they first drafted the kid. I felt like it was it was potentially going to be an issue.
Yeah, and they expect a little bit too much out of him right now anyway.
I agree.
I mean, the whole league is after him right now because of his father, which is really not warranted, because what does his father supposed to do? He's supposed to bring his son in and say, oh, my son's terrible, but, give him a chance. He pumped his son up. That's his man.
LeVar Ball has done a lot to get his kids to position them to take care of themselves.
Right. In a situation to succeed.
And to put them in the situation to succeed. And this is why I support him, because I feel like he supported his kids in a way that especially African-American men have been criticized for not being around. Now, he's done a lot, and he's gotten there. And he's gotten his son there, and his son is playing okay. Yeah,
he's playing like he should play. He's a rookie.
He's playing like he should play as a rookie. And truthfully, to the experience that both of us have with professional sports, if you can get one in, the rest of your family isn't necessarily far off.
Right.
And it seemed like a shoe-in that they have the formula now. You go to UCLA, you go from Chino Hills High School to UCLA to the league.
Right.
And now here comes LiAngelo Ball and his merry group of friends. And this is just so disappointing.
And unacceptable.
Totally and completely unacceptable.
This was very, very immature.
Now, good and well that they're after you and your dad and your family.
Exactly.
The they meaning in the DJ
system.
Khaled sense. The system. The system wants you guys to fail in a certain way.
So we can say, see, I told you so.
I told you. That's exactly what it is. They're looking for an I told you so about those kids. Now, this kid drives a Maserati to UCLA, from what I understand.
Right.
So he fits right in with a lot of the privileged kids, but not necessarily with the kids that are on Scully, because most of those kids are coming from an underprivileged space.
Right.
An impoverished a Watts kind of space, if you will. Now, this situation is very upsetting to me, because this kid who has it all in the palm of his hand. Now, he's a kid. We know kids make mistakes and this, that, and the other. But LiAngelo Ball, Cody Riley, and Jalen Hill got arrested shoplifting in China, of all places.
3 stores.
At high-end stores.
Yeah. And it's not even really necessary because you have the money to pay for it. So this is some kind of thrill seek, or you just falling into peer pressure.
Yeah, it's weakness is what that one is.
It's a serious character flaw.
And that's I don't know Cody Riley and Jalen Hill scenario. We're just talking about LiAngelo Ball.
Right.
And it became an international incident. I felt pretty confident. The guys were looking at 10 years to like 5 to 10, from what I understand, because they don't mess around in foreign countries. Folks.
No, and that's probably a work camp.
Yeah, and I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it wasn't like they have to use those muscles that they develop.
Man,
when they get out, they'll be strong for the league.
I was about to say, when they come out, they'll be fully developed for the league and fluent in Chinese. And
if you're smart,
and maybe they can open a Subway or KFC. So there's a situation that then becomes ugly, that becomes an international incident. I felt confident that it was going to get resolved when Jack Ma, the owner of Alibaba, the Chinese Amazon, got involved, and I felt very confident that that should tighten things up. But then, in a surprising move, I actually saw video footage on Air Force One when President Trump was going from, I don't know, hanging out with the strongman killer dictator in the Philippines to hanging out with another dictator somewhere else. In between there, he was talking about sanctions and easily glossing over civil rights. And then he decided to say, oh, yeah, and the boys, by the way, we're trying to get the boys home. Just a heads up. It's a situation that should have never happened. I had a conversation with the president of China about it. It was a very uncomfortable conversation, but he's being helpful and he's trying to help get our boys home. I have to say, honestly, this is the first thing that I've seen maybe in this whole life that Donald Trump even remotely said that was something that I respected. Now, I don't necessarily think I agree with what you're saying. Is it the right thing is the question.
Yeah, I hadn't said it yet though, but
you had intimated it in the intro.
Yeah,
but it definitely is not the right thing. Where
you're looking for a glorification for it.
Where now he tweets out, like the dickhead that he is, do you think the 3 UCLA basketball players would say thank you to President Trump?
And they did.
They were headed for 10 years in jail, and they did.
Yes. Hello, Cheeto.
Hello, Cheeto. You lose once again. Now, what do you think about the situation?
I mean, they made a big mistake, and I don't feel like, I'm not the judge or jury or anything, but 10 years for shoplifting is sort of, far.
It's excessive, but that's
their rules over there.
Those are their rules.
And you went over there and you broke their rules.
Yep.
And I also would like to see them come home, but also now with this, UCLA has suspended them indefinitely, but they also stated that there's a chance that they could come back later on in the year. So basically what they're trying to do is to let all of this die, and then they'll bring them back. In most cases, if it was a normal guy besides LiAngelo Ball, they would say, guess what? You lose your scholarship, you lose everything, go home.
I agree.
And that's not right. I mean, I like the Balls, but he made a mistake, and this is the consequences, and this could teach a kid that's coming up in the future that when you make
how high the stakes
exactly.
are.
When you make a mistake like this is the price that you pay. So maybe he would have to go play overseas or something like that. But now if you let him come back, you have to you're setting a precedent. So
it's an A-Rod scenario.
Yeah, so when you set this precedent,
we are incentivizing, potentially we're excusing and incentivizing certain sorts of behavior.
Yeah, because of your
it
status.
Can still be beneficial to the program and to the school
and
because
to the
of
NBA
your status.
and everything else.
Yeah, potentially. Now, this is something that I thought. I'm surprised Jeff Van Gundy still has a job because he keeps his so 100. Mm-hmm. But this is something that I wanted to speak on and speak about, and I feel like he summed it up better than I could say it in my own words. Here's Jeff Van Gundy.
Why is UCLA and Georgia Tech in China to play a basketball game, missing all that school and then force-feeding their fans the idea of student athletes? And if it's such a cultural excursion, what's UCLA doing in the Louis Vuitton sunglass section? They can do that in Beverly Hills. You're in charge of that league. I'll tell you what the answer is. Money. They're trying to sell something to get more money.
Part of the Pac-12 initiative to play in China. They've done that every year now for the last few years. So you don't like that? You don't like them going overseas to play
Well, then stop the nonsense about student athletes. And I know they have tutors on there and all that. You're always going to get fed the same lines.
Muhammad missed.
I agree with him to a certain, degree, but also everybody wants to push their brand, which is the NCAA. They want to go out and go out to the country just like the NFL does when they go and play in London. There's no football in London. Why would we go,
Well, the NFL is a professional organization.
Yeah, but realistically, let's call this NCAA what it is. It's a professional organization.
Yeah, but
it's
this is the entire point. The NFL is a professional organization that doesn't fake like that. What the NFL is saying is, you know what, we're trying to expand our game into international waters, and that's fine, and people are being paid for that. In this situation,
they're being paid for it though. There's not the kids directly, but the schools and NCAA are being paid for it. That's what he just said, pretty much. They're being paid for it. That's why they took their product over there, although I don't agree with it. I mean, it's cool to expand, and even if they go to Louis Vuitton or whatever, you know that you can't go to foreign countries and just walk all over the place. You don't know the boundaries, just like we just got through talking about, in Rio. But give those kids that experience because some of them might not ever get that experience again. So it's cool to be able to go over there. I agree with him, but don't go under the ruse of it being a cultural exchange because it's not.
And this is my point. My point is that ultimately the NCAA needs to open its eyes and stop playing games. And their eyes are open, but they need to stop the ruse that this thing is something different than what it is.
Well, when they do that, though, they have to start paying people, and they don't want to lose that. That's the bottom line. They don't want to lose that because this is how they generate all this capital. They're milking and fleecing all these kids. They're acting like they're not paying people, and they're paying them.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, dude. Everybody gets paid out. The people who are worth something.
Yeah.
People who are going on to the next level, they get paid.
Guys get paid. I need pay or play to play.
Come on, man. How much you going to pay?
And it just seems to be a certain matter of time before they determine, hey, you know what? Now we got to pick you off.
Yeah.
So Calipari, you know what? It's your time. You got to go sit down for a little while.
The season's changing.
Or well, whoever the coach is that how they play the game, this is what they decide to do. And just the overall lack of honesty for what it is I guess the biggest problem.
Yeah.
Because
you're playing like I care for the kids. This is all for them and the cultural exchange. And basically you're saying, how much are we going to get paid for this? I'll bring LiAngelo Ball over there. He's probably the biggest draw that they brought over there in a little while. He's supposed to probably be the next thing coming after this year, right? So he will be entering the draft right after this season because that's their whole plan. They're one and done. And so when he does that, then the school is saying, we're going to bring him over there. Everybody will be able to see him. That's going to increase his visibility once he gets to the NBA as well.
It does. But not
when you get caught shoplifting in Louis Vuitton.
Not the right kind of increase of your visibility. Now, my question, I wonder, is that, so is the move, is UCLA and Georgia Tech both trying to use it as a recruiting tool? Because everything that you described right there benefits the NBA. That doesn't benefit UCLA. You know what I mean?
I'm saying the NCAA. It helps the NCAA and the NBA. All of them really, they can call it what they want to, but they work in tandem. They are on the same page. So the NCAA.
You think?
I swear by it because I don't want to say I put my life on it because somebody lied. Wait a minute, I take it back.
No, put your life on it. It's over.
No.
Take it.
They work together. They're a farm system for the NBA. They can call it whatever they want to, but that's what they are. And it's farm to table. So when they increase the kids' visibility with the Final Four and all that kind of stuff, or with the championships and whatnot, the Sweet 16, that helps the NBA. These guys are already just about proven products when they get there, even though they might not be successful. You get there and people are already buying jerseys. People already, right? Lonzo Ball's jerseys were selling already. His father claimed that he was going to the Lakers. They were already talking about putting his number up in the rafters and everything. I'm sure. I don't know the numbers on what he what his jersey sales were, but I'm sure that he was selling jerseys already. So acting like that they're not working together is just not realistic.
I wonder though, because I feel like they feed each other, but I don't know if they work in cahoots, put it like that. Because the NBA is in the clear in this situation because they're like, look, we're paying people. And that's not you know what I mean? There's no subterfuge about that.
But people. It's just like,
just like the NFL.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The NFL's like, hey, man, look.
Well, isn't that even greater for them? If they don't have to pay people, you get to develop somebody in college. Before, there wasn't a rule where you had to be one and done. You can actually go from high school to the NBA. The NCAA said, no, you know what? And NBA talked to him and said, hey, you know what? This isn't right. We need to, they need to develop more. So we're not going to.
Which is true, though.
To a certain degree, it is true. But this is a free society. So why should the NBA or the NCAA sign an agreement saying that these guys can't come straight from high school? If I feel like I'm ready and the NBA said that they want to draft me, then I should be able to go. I don't care if I'm 15, if my parents signed off on it.
I agree with that. I do agree with that. Wow. Definitive statements on the Ozone, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank
you got Terry fired up.
Thank you very much.
And ready to go.
I'll be here all 45 minutes.
He has earned his new headphones. We got a caller to call in and wants to redeem himself and speak about his college sports and his college sports situation.
Oh, billionaires, what up?
You tell me, what's going on with you? You're no longer next victim. I looked up, I saw you talking crazy online, and you had some new name. What happened, victim? Why are you so intent on hiding from the Ozone following that wants to keep you honest on your predictions and your scheduling?
I just be calling out names. Well, I was getting my cap on, my Kaepernick, and don't want to go with the next victim name, so I switched it up to Do It For The Tipper.
Okay, so we can find you on Twitter at Do It For The Tipper. Do It For The Tipper. We're looking for some expert NCAA talk right now because we were just speaking about the situation with young LiAngelo Ball making a stupid decision to shoplift in period, but then especially to do it in a communist country. And we're talking about how the NBA, the NCAA, and all of basically the professional leagues working lock and step with the NCAA and what it is that they're doing and offering on the professional level versus the subterfuge of the under-the-table professional level, which is what's happening now in the NCAA. Now, given all that information, what are the blue-chip athletes on the football field going to do this weekend who have been paid to go play at Alabama and SC and all of the other big schools?
Oh, man, they're going to ball out. You know, they don't have to steal because since they're blue chip, they're already getting paid under the table, and it's pretty much a guaranteed contract. You know, with the Alabamas, the Clemsons, you know, once you sign up for them schools, you know, SEC or the ACC, you know, these big name schools, it's almost, you know, you're going to be within in the first or the 4 rounds of any draft. You know, whether if it's basketball, you're going overseas. If you're playing, you know, college football, you're going to be either on a practice squad or somewhere, you know, in the NFL with these top teams, unless you just, you know, happen to go to China and steal something.
And trick off your whole opportunity. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. Now, how do you feel about the college basketball space since college basketball is firing up? What do you got for us?
And college basketball is way much better than the NBA.
Really?
Kids are, you know, because they have to do their couple of years, you know, they have to grind out, they have to do the studies. You know, again, I'm just all into NCAA or any type of college sports, having a little bit on my background. But just the preparation and the hunger, you know, the top schools, again, they're pretty much doing one and done.
Well, let me ask you a question, though. If they're way so much better than NBA, why is it that when they get to the NBA, most of these guys can't produce?
Because the NBA is a different game, different culture. They want to set them and try to develop them for the NBA, you know, just preparation. In college, it's just, you know, they're too advanced for college, but then they're not yet fully developed as far as body weight, muscle, and all that for the NBA. One of the biggest things is someone like a Brandon Ingram.
We were just speaking on him. We were just talking about him. And Lonzo Ball.
6'10", he's ready to go, you know, at 6'10", you know, but now you can kind of see his body kind of developing, and but he's still getting pushed around at 6'10", kind of like with how Durant was. The difference is between Durant and Brandon Ingram. Durant had a jumper that was wet from all planets of the court. You know, Brandon Ingram is still trying to get to the rim. You know, if he get to the rim, he's getting knocked around, he's getting put on his butt, and he can't make free throws. So what do? You want to guard him. You want to get all up in his jock and make him go around you and let the big man take one for the team and knock him down. With somebody like Durant, you can't sag. because he's going to hit the jumper. He's quick enough to dribble around you, and he may give it to you, to your big man.
I was about to say he'll drop it on him. He'll drop it on him because he's above the. Not only is he above the rim, he's above the top of the square.
Yeah.
Right.
Because he's a 7-footer with the boost. All right, so college football. Talk to me. Who's the big matchups this weekend, and then what's up with Upsetville last weekend?
All right, we're real quick on the big games this weekend. There isn't any. The only one this weekend.
That was pretty fast.
That was a very quick synopsis. Thank you. Do it for the
There
Tipper.
isn't any. Unless you're in Southern California, the only big game is UCLA versus USC. And, USC ranked number 11. They should blow. They should put the hands completely on UCLA. So that's the big game this weekend for the Southern Californians.
And were you surprised at Notre Dame's ability to handle getting pounded by Miami?
Man, that's completely disrespect for Miami to go up in there and just almost get them dudes from Notre Dame a stinky boo-boo.
Almost gave him a dozen donuts.
Come on, man.
Bagel?
It's like they had the Ray Lewis and the Michael Irvin all back in uniform.
Everybody was back on. Everybody was the U. Man, they went down there and smacked them around. Wow.
They smacked them around. That was big. That was real huge, and that may have knocked Notre Dame completely out of the playoff race.
Yeah, seriously. I have to say, I was a little surprised. I know that the U plays strong at home, but they really turned it up.
Yeah, they balled out. They completely balled out. But last weekend was a whole bunch of upsets. And, you had Oklahoma State going into Iowa State. Iowa State then knocked out maybe 3 top 10 teams this season. And, Oklahoma State was ranked number 15. They went in and put hands on Iowa State. Georgia, number 1 Georgia, lost to Auburn, Cam Newton's old alumni. And Charles Barkley. Can I get that Charles Barkley impression real quick?
You might be able to. If you act right, boy, you might be able to get some collard greens to go along with it. Hey, man, bring me my cornbread.
I appreciate it, Charles.
No problem.
So number 1, Georgia lost to Auburn, 17-40. Auburn really put hands on them. So Georgia is one of the teams that I still worry about to making it to the college, to the national championship playoffs. As we had talked about, number 7, Miami putting hands on Notre Dame. But, my squads are still there. I said it at the beginning of the college football season that we will most likely see Clemson. They're ranked number 2 right now, playing against Alabama in the national championship.
A rematch.
But the teams to worry about is Georgia, Wisconsin. Wisconsin is under the radar. They're ranked at number 5 right now. They play strong.
They have good athletic programs in Wisconsin.
Yes, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, they have good their basketball team is always sneaky good. They're good for an upset. The football team is, and it's something about the geographics of where they are. That geography helps them to stay under the radar. So it seems like they surprise teams. Like teams always seem to take them lightly. In every sport.
In every sport, right?
Yeah.
So that could be it, because I know that they do a lot of recruiting, just within their own demographics, within their own, area. So, we don't get to see them much on TV. So until the big games or whatever. So when they play, it shouldn't be a shock, but they're proven. And, they're in the Big Ten Conference, so they're going through the likes of Penn State, Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State, and they're coming out victorious. So, they're proven and they deserve to be wherever they're at.
Yeah, and we're going to see where they are when it all shakes out come December. Well, all right, do it for the Tipper. We appreciate you. Appreciate you coming back, bouncing back. Hope you worked on your tan in Mexico and it didn't fry your brain.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me back. I'm sorry I had to suspend next victim, but do it for the Tipper is a lot better.
I hear you. One question real quick. Is LeBron James the king of New York City?
No.
There it is.
Gotta go with Mike Jordan.
There it is. Do it for the Tipper. We appreciate you. You are a friend of the OZone. We'll catch you soon.
OZone out. Love ya.
Peace.
Doing it for the Tipper. Going to move into the NFL. Very interesting. GQ has named Colin Kaepernick Citizen of the Year,
Right.
which is totally different than a category of saying Sexiest Man, totally different than saying Man of the Year. Citizen of the Year is a very specific term. You know, they
Something that you could be proud of, actually.
it actually is, because for democracy to work, we need citizens that are active. It's the only way that it works.
And what's the trip is that Kaepernick hasn't done anything in a year.
And this is what is, I mean, really, really a trip. And it's a trip because he's not necessarily, because he hasn't done anything, he's not active. But I guess it supports, Mahatma Gandhi and Dr. King's theory of silence as a form of protest. Because if you look at it, this guy's made more noise now in silence and kneeling than he ever did getting one pass away from winning the Super Bowl.
And I bet you he never thought that this was going to get this big.
I guarantee it. This situation, this is a really, to me, it's a really surprising scenario, and I think it still doesn't get this big if Cheeto doesn't get involved. I don't think it ever gets that. I don't think it ever blows up like it did, because that seemed to spur the action. It was a call to action for the other players.
Right.
If you remember, just as recently as the beginning of the season, it wasn't a lot of players that were involved in the protest.
Just a handful.
Yeah, it was just
even if
a
you want to call it a handful. And I felt like the NFL, they should have, even the other players that weren't involved should have helped, or supported in some form or fashion, because it was an attack on their, on their union.
Yeah, I agree. The problem now is just like I said before, where do they go from here? And, there needs to be something clear cut set out. Otherwise, I don't know. I don't know where they, what they do, where they go. But hats off to Cap for his for winning that. I'm very interested to see where he goes with it from this point outside of football, because I don't think he'll ever play, another NFL down ever again.
Now, do you think that he's going to take that anywhere? I don't even know if he's really interested in doing anything with that.
I don't know. I mean, it seems as though he's decided to be a full-time activist, and he's dedicated a lot of money to a lot of citizens and their civil rights, and a lot of African-American and minority citizens and their civil rights. And for that, he's been aptly attacked and misrepresented. And, for the most part, there's a lot of there's a lot of pros to what it is that he did, and then there's some cons. Like, I never really could understand when he said that he wasn't gonna vote.
That was crazy.
And there's a lot of conjecture about whether or not he's going to these meetings at the Players Association and the owners' meetings, blah blah blah, whether or not he's invited to. So I don't know. I'd be interesting to take a telescope to this in a year or two, or 10, and see because a lot of this stuff is all tied in together. It may not seem like it. Mm-hmm. The sexual harassment movement that's going on now with the hashtag #MeToo, with all of the people who have come out who are being sexually harassed constantly at work, in their private lives, and men, women, children. It's now rolled over. There is an activism that I think you can kind of roll back to Colin Kaepernick's cause, that I think has grown into something even bigger than just the NFL and the kneeling and so on and whatnot.
Right. And I think also one of the great things that's happened is that people are finally using social media for something that, more
It's
so
valuable.
than showing them, that I just went to the toilet today.
Yeah, because you got plenty of that. Or every single thought that comes out of your mind, you know what I mean? You have to document it and write it down.
So now, you can actually use that in a positive way.
Yeah.
Somebody will be able to get some kind of growth out of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's really rolled over. I mean, everybody to the, the sexual harassment charges, like I said, to the guy, the senator or Judge Moore down in Alabama, who's now look like he's going to have to resign.
Said he's not.
And yeah, he's giving you classic redneck work.
Yeah.
And but there's a lot, and all of this comes to, just like you said, comes from citizens holding their leaders' feet to the coals.
Yeah,
it's a serious thing.
Before, without people being able to communicate like we can now, even with globalization, now everybody can communicate and expose people, for what they are, whether it be good or bad. And unfortunately, there's a lot of bad people out there.
Right.
And first of all, we have to stop sexualizing children. That would be the beginning. That's fundamentals. That's the fundamentals.
Has to stop.
Yeah.
This has to stop. And speaking of that, the children, they take a moment of silence for the massacre that took place in Northern California at the school.
Ridiculous.
Unbelievable, folks. Unbelievable. The mass shootings are so common now that barely even moved the needle yesterday on the news when it happened. And President Trump is such a buffoon that he even tweeted condolences to the other mass shooting that took place last week in Texas. Said, the FBI and police are on the scene.
Yeah. Well, I don't even want to start on a rant with that dude. I don't even like giving mayor play.
Yeah, I agree. So what do you got over there about the Seahawks that you were saying?
Oh, the Seahawks are under the gun a little bit because they had Russell Wilson. They didn't follow
when he just popped into that tent and popped back out.
That concussion protocol. So now they're under the gun. They might be receiving a fine or some kind of problem from the NFL in general, because everybody knows that they put these guys back out there, whether they're injured or not, with concussions or whatever. And Russell Wilson is an elite player, so you can't just throw him out there and think that that somebody's not going to find out. And then the Seahawks are in a little trouble right now.
Right. And what do you think? What are the consequences going to be? Like, what are they saying?
You know what? The NFL, you never can tell. You never can really tell, because they'll put a guy like Ezekiel Elliott, who's on a 6-game suspension now, without any kind of proof of anything, and they'll suspend him. And then you'll have somebody where we just saw Russell Wilson come back in a game where he had a concussion, and they'll just let it ride. So who knows?
Yeah. The NFL is not necessarily the best when it comes to, if you look at it, when it comes to punishment, crime and punishment, if you will. I mean, you got all kind of stuff that's been caught on video that gets less punishment than people doing protests and so on.
Right, and that's what we focus on.
Speaking of which, Papa John, notorious pizza slanger, something happened with him. What was his scenario?
Well, now they want to come out and Papa John apologized for blaming poor sales on NFL player protests. And then that means that they're blocking that false scenario. That false narrative, rather. You can't come out and say that this is causing your pizza not to sell. Maybe it's just your pizza's not good. How about that? Maybe at this point in time, people just don't want any pizza. Or maybe you just need to switch your game. But what you can't do is to blame it on a player protest. That has nothing to do with your sales. And now they've come out and apologized. The statements made on our earnings were describing the factors that impact our business, and we sincerely apologize to anyone that thought that they were divisive. That definitely was not our intention.
Wow. And that's all a backtrack just based on the fact of the response. If everybody would have piled on and been like, yeah, then he would have been A-okay with exactly what it was that happened.
Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate, but this is the way of the world now. It's always easier to dump on somebody else than actually just say, hey, you know what? Our sales are down and we need to work on ourselves.
Yeah.
Let's blame it on Kaepernick.
Everybody needs a scapegoat. Everybody needs a scapegoat. So, moving into the NFL, Roger Goodell, commissioner for the last, about 20 years?
It seems like the last 200 years. That dude's
200.
Can you put that on the calendar?
That would be 2000.
Would that be like an AD?
So I do believe that he was the commissioner over Jesus' execution. So
thumbs down.
He's looking for some pretty outrageous demands. He's looking for $50 million per year, and he's looking for a private jet for life. Is that an outrageous demand when, it's all relative?
And Jerry Jones is looking to actually get him out the league,
to sue him and get him out of the league because he didn't appreciate the Ezekiel Elliott situation.
I really don't appreciate Roger Goodell's work or Jerry Jones, but the thing of it is that Jerry Jones wants to put a puppet in there. And now as soon as he gets somebody who bucks against him a little bit, since he's the most powerful owner in the NFL.
And he's been the puppet, though.
Yeah, he's been a puppet. He's been a puppet. But the thing of it is that now as soon as he gets a little bounce back or feedback, now he wants him out. Let him roll with him for a little bit longer now. I don't really if they're going to give Goodell a jet for his lifetime, come on, man, that's too far. But if they decide to do that, that's on them. They have the money to do that. I'm sure that a couple of the owners have their own jets that they can borrow.
All of the owners have their own
jets. Come on, man. So it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But the $50 million, I would ask for $50 million or more if I have to listen to everybody's problems in the whole world, because they're all bouncing off of him. They're
Non-stop.
They don't go to the owners. You know, they go to Roger Goodell. Roger Goodell is the one who has to stand out in front and be the
He's the
sacrificial.
face.
Yeah, and he
Yeah.
has to be the sacrificial lamb, whether he's right or wrong.
It's true.
Yeah, so he can't ask for enough.
Wow. Well, that's an interesting take on it. Yeah, his leadership has been at times spotty.
Suspect.
He seems as though, he lives in that political kind of bubble of people who live in affluence that aren't necessarily connected. I mean, everybody in the situation is living in some sort of affluence.
Right.
But that aren't necessarily connected to the issues that are for the people that they're entertaining.
He likes to walk. He's in a gray area. He's in a gray space.
He's in a gray space right now.
He wants to walk in the middle of on the fence. He doesn't want to be on this side or that side, but the owners obviously have him on their side.
Right.
He's always signing off on their issues.
Right.
How many times do you see him sign off with the players? It's only if he's held to social ransom that he does actually do something with the players. Like even with this protest situation, he had to actually bend a little bit because the public is actually joining in with it now.
Yeah, that's actually when the bending took place.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that the New Orleans Saints are real?
The New Orleans Saints are real because they're not dependent on Drew Brees' arm, which Drew Brees is on the verge probably of needing to retire.
Yeah.
But they have two above average running backs.
Yeah.
And their defense is above average.
Which is a surprise.
But they've always had the potential. Even when they won the Super Bowl, they had good defense.
Well, when they won the Super Bowl, they had good defense.
And a running game.
But ever since then, they haven't had great defense.
Yeah, but the whole thing nowadays is that you can win the Super Bowl with a good defense and a good running back. Peyton Manning just won the Super Bowl and he wasn't good at all. He was like a third string quarterback at that point.
But he managed. He managed. And
that's
he
what they look
understood
for.
the strength of his defense, which was very interesting because now they look like they could be a serious problem.
Yeah.
How in the world did Tyrod Taylor get benched? Tyrod Taylor, who I have on my fantasy team as my backup to James.
He's had
Winston.
a couple of bad games. He just had a bad game against the Saint defense that's above average.
And in that same bad game that he had, the Bills gave up 47 points.
Yeah. Well, you do that, though, with the Saints because the Saints, they create turnovers. And then also the Saints have a little bit of offense. That's all you need because their defense, the Bills' defense is not that good. So they got ran all over by Kamara and by Ingram.
I tell you what. He's given us a bit of Negro Damas, Tyrod Taylor is because not too long ago, he said on October 14th, it's always going to be twice as bad because of who I am, an African-American quarterback. Look across the league, man. We're held to a certain standard. We almost have to be perfect. I wouldn't say it's just an African-American quarterback thing. It's an African-American athlete thing or just an African-American thing. And that's not anything I just found out. It's been that way since I was a kid. I'm held to a higher standard, and I welcome that because it'll make me a better player. Now, the guy just got benched, and he has a completion percentage of 64%, 12 tugs, 3 picks, and a passer rating of 91.
Not bad.
That's not bad, and he got benched. I mean, I don't know if you're a better team.
But he was on the bubble of not starting or getting re-signed anyway this year.
Yep, and he went back and signed that thing.
I don't know what kind of guaranteed money he got for that, but hopefully he got a nice piece of change, and they should obviously look to trade him.
Yeah, if they're not going to use him, I think that he's going to find a place to play. I don't think that
like the Texans maybe?
Perhaps, and I think that when he gets to a warmer place, a place with a better defense like the Texans, he may be able to light it up.
Well, he had done well when he played with Buffalo last year, so it doesn't matter about the temperature. It doesn't seem like it affects him that much.
Oh, no, I agree. I'm just saying that I think that a warmer scenario, both physically and mentally warmer than maybe what's going on in Buffalo can give him some more success.
Yeah, because you never want your gig to be in question.
It just, as an athlete, it doesn't usually work out well.
And they got rid of all his receivers. They just got a new receiver for him, Kelvin Benjamin. I don't understand that deal in the first place, but they bring him in there, and now you said Tyrod Taylor, so that means that he can never get in sync with him because he's not playing with him.
Right. Are the Falcons back?
No. The Falcons lost their offensive coordinator, which seemed like that made a big difference. If Julio Jones is not in effect mode with the Falcons, they're not going to ever be back. He's the most dominant receiver in football, but if you can't figure out a way to get him the ball, then you're not going to be able to win.
Then you're not serious.
Yeah, you're not serious. You have to figure that out.
You have to figure out how to get that man the ball.
How many touchdowns does he have? One?
I don't know.
Maybe 2?
I was about to say something. Not enough.
Something ridiculous.
Not enough for the way that we just saw him play all of last season
Yes.
and in the Super Bowl.
Yes.
And where it was very clear that he was the best receiver on the planet.
and triple teamed, and he's still
making catches.
Yeah, and now you can't even give him the ball. So I can't take you serious. I can't depend on Mohamed Sanu or Taylor Gabriel. Devonta Freeman's hurt most of the time. You have Tevin Coleman. You have a decent defense, but once you get into it with a team that actually can run the ball and wear that defense down, then they're going to be subpar, just like they have been for most of the year.
I have to say, I'm starting to become a believer in Ram time, bro.
You should believe in the Rams. I told you.
Man,
Rams are real.
It's Ram time.
We don't play. We blow you out week to week.
And they blow you out.
I got to give you a Rams hat. It's going down.
They got plenty of them. They got plenty of them. They got plenty of seats at the Coliseum, by the way, if you want to buy an extra 10,000. They got an extra 10,000 seats for you.
Rams are serious, man. I'm telling you.
The Rams are
They have
real.
good defense. Forget about the running game. All you had to do was get rid of Jeff Fisher.
And can you believe that?
Yes, I can. I was crying for it all last year.
As the coach says, all it takes is one meathead.
And he happens to be the head coach. Get him out of there. And you get him out there. First of all, they gave away so much money to him just to get rid of him. And they probably would have never gotten rid of him if they didn't come to Los Angeles and the fans started screaming.
Yeah.
He would be in St. Louis stinking the joint up. And people just sweep it under the rug because he's in St. Louis. But you can't come to L.A. and stink the joint up. We don't allow that out here.
We won't watch.
Yeah.
And we'll be mad that you have you've messed up traffic. Even worse.
Very mad. I'm upset.
We'll be very, very upset. Very upset. Well, moving on into boxing, we have a sad loss in the world of boxing. Veteran cut man for Floyd Mayweather and the other champions, Rafael Garcia, has passed away. At the tender age of 88, he had a full life, and we all know him from being in the corner and always backing his man, which was great because he had 100% certainty in Floyd all the time. I don't think he ever had to do much work with Floyd because he didn't get cut up all that much.
Right.
But it was he passed away. The champ mourned his death, and you can catch a nice touching tribute to him on his Instagram page that has a lot of views. Also happening in the world of boxing, somebody who I keep going back and forth on the waffle tip with is Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya had the nerve to come out now on the radio and say that he would come back for a Conor McGregor fight.
I'm sure you would, but we don't want you back. Stay where you are.
Why does he need to come back? You're almost a billionaire. You have plenty of money.
Well, that's not enough for him, though. You know, that he needs more money. He saw that big payday Floyd got for that debacle, and now he wants to jump on board and milk Conor McGregor for what it's worth. Conor McGregor cannot be the boxer. If you guys want to make that more whatever, competitive, fight like he wants to fight.
Yeah.
Why don't one of you guys go in there and wrestle and get on the ground and roll around and do whatever y'all do?
Yeah. Let him hammer punch you and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Hammer, I am hammer. They put me in the mix. Then go in there and let him do that. But it's absurd. And the reason it's absurd is because he's sat around bumping his gums all through the promotion of Mayweather-McGregor and talking
about
how
hypocrite, dude.
He's a total hypocrite. In multiple ways we see this year.
In multiple ways, because he's the same guy who's the cancer in boxing now that he always fought against Floyd with, talking about all these promotions and everything else. Now he does the same thing. He milks his fighters. He does everything the wrong way.
He does. He does. And I have to say, I gave him praise. I even shook his hand and told him thank you for making that fight with Triple G, which I was surprised that he made. He stretched it out as long as he could. And now it doesn't seem like they're in any rush to sign the rematch.
Yeah, and you can also see that the fix was in with that fight. So
easily.
Yeah, and that's a part of De La Hoya.
And it's a part of De La Hoya. And I personally think that what's ended up happening is that perhaps he's spent the rest of his career and life regretting the fact that he knows he should have beat Floyd Mayweather when they fought.
Yeah.
Whether he threw that fight or didn't throw that fight.
I don't believe he threw it. I just feel like he had a lack of discipline because even after the fight, he had regret and remorse.
Immediately.
Yeah.
First 5 rounds.
I had him.
Yeah, first 5 rounds.
He destroyed him. Just jabbed him up.
Oh, my goodness. He was a much bigger guy, and this is prime Floyd Mayweather.
And then he just decided that he wasn't going to do it anymore. He couldn't even understand, meaning De La Hoya, he couldn't even understand why he stopped popping his own jab.
No, that's what I mean. He stopped popping his own jab, and then Manny Pacquiao put him out of his misery the next fight.
Thank goodness.
And that was that. And now just him deciding that even speaking about that makes me sick.
First of all, he's talking about coming back and fighting. We have to remember that he was on drugs before.
Yes.
And I'm not talking about steroids. He was on narcotics.
No, he was on narcotics, and he had an alcohol problem. He was on that stuff.
So now you want to come back and revisit the game? The game doesn't want you. Stay on the promotion side, dude.
Yeah, then the game don't wait, because if you come back and you mess around too much, you're going to get hurt.
Even Conor McGregor give you some.
Conor McGregor, he didn't look bad against Floyd. He's just not a boxer. Yeah. Anyways, moving on, we could be entering into a really prime stage of the heavyweight division. This weekend on Danny Jacobs' card, Jarrell Big Baby Miller, he put on a decent show, kind of a sloppy show, but he put on a decent show against the guy that he was fighting. And he came out of his face and said that Anthony Joshua is a mental midget. And he claims he can knock out the British superstar at any given moment. I mean, he just might knock him out walking down the street. I just feel like.
For nothing. I just give it to him. First of all, everybody should quit acting like Anthony Joshua is not a good fighter.
Everybody needs to cut that out.
Just stop that.
Just stop that.
Because he's the heavyweight champ for a reason. He beat Klitschko. Not like a Tyson Fury beat Klitschko. He actually beat Klitschko.
He beat him into submission.
Yes. And second of all, the heavyweight, I'm not impressed with the heavyweight division. There might be 3 good fighters, 4 if you beg.
How many are you juicing?
All of them except for Joshua and your boy Murder. Deontay Wilder.
It's murder, boy.
You right.
That's murder.
Man, you put him in jail. Yeah.
So happy we had the champ on. That is just something that I just literally cannot. Real highlight of the OZone, folks. And you know what? It was great to see Danny Jacobs come out and dominate in his fight, his first fight on HBO, first fight with Matchroom Boxing and Eddie Hearn. He put in work. It was a 12-round fight, and he went the distance, punished the kid. The only reason it went 12 rounds is because the guy was running the whole night.
Right.
And he was running his mouth before. And you could even see after the fight, Danny didn't appreciate it. He didn't even give him a hug or look at him after the fight, and then he decided to break down because he's a nice guy.
Yeah, but most of those guys take slick talk too far.
And this is one of those situations where he did exactly that. And I think this lines Danny up nicely to figure out his next fight to be a big money fight against a big name. Danny Jacobs, I maintain, is, second or third best middleweight in all of boxing. And I don't know if he's better or worse than Canelo. I personally think when it comes to matching up against Canelo directly, I think he beats Canelo. I think that they may have different guys that go different ways, because the styles make fights. But I felt like he gave Gennady a much better fight than Canelo did.
I don't even think that fight is competitive. I mean,
Canelo and Danny?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, Danny's a superior athlete. He's a bigger guy. He has the reach. He has the power. And honestly, in that situation, him being a better athlete than actually Triple G is, I feel like Triple G is the better boxer, but Danny's the better athlete. He'll cut off the ring. Canelo would not be able to run, and Canelo would do something dumb enough to stand in there and slug with him, and he would get put to sleep. And he probably would get put to sleep in less than 5 rounds.
Wow. I don't know if I...
And that's how I really feel.
And that's the double truth, Ruth. I don't know if I feel that same way, but that's a thorough analysis. I think that it's a fight I'd like to see.
Oh, I would like to see it just because I would like to see Canelo actually have to fight somebody, because in this situation, like I said, he
had to fight Gennady.
He had to, but he ran. And I feel like Danny Jacobs would put him in a situation that he wouldn't be able to outrun. Gotcha. Because if you cut off that ring, and even Triple G knows himself, if he cuts off that ring and puts him in a situation where he's got him pressed, then he's going to have to fight back. And that's exactly what he was running from.
We're 3 weeks out. Lomachenko, Rigondeaux. Who you got?
It's hard to say, but I'll take Rigondeaux because Lomachenko really doesn't have that many fights.
Yeah, he's just got 1 billion amateur fights, but he's the bigger man, which usually counts for something. But I like Rigondeaux a lot.
Yeah,
I like the Cuban style of defense that they have, and they're very slick. I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of slick footwork.
Yeah,
on both
that's what I'm going to say. And Lomachenko likes to flash and dash a little bit too much, because I've seen a lot of great fighters who give you the flash and dash and get caught playing games. You like Michael Nunn. And, and all these other guys that end up laying on the mat with their chin up. It's an ugly look, right?
It's a terrible look.
Yeah.
It's a terrible look. What is not a terrible look, moving into Major League Baseball, folks, this is the end of the road for Major League Baseball for the year. It's awards season, and we have some awards that have just come out. The Los Angeles Dodgers rookie Cody Bellinger, who didn't come up until, I think, late May, won Rookie of the Year honors. And that's a big accomplishment. Shout out to Big Blue. Shout out to Cody Bellinger. Hopefully he works on himself in the off season.
Work on that slide piece inside.
Because that inside slider is going to be coming at you a lot next year, young man. And I believe he can make the adjustments. And, I mean, the way that he took the league by storm, hitting 40 bombs, setting a National League record, 39 bombs in that short amount of time, he's got major league potential.
Yeah.
And if they make this move that they're talking about and getting Giancarlo Stanton in Los Angeles to hit behind him, This is a serious situation that could happen
There's
for Cody
8 teams
Bellinger.
after Stanton, though, and he might end up in New York because New York is willing to pay whatever it takes to get him. They don't care
I don't
about
think-
luxury taxes and everything
The
else.
Dodgers payroll's higher than the Yankees.
Yeah, I mean,
So I don't think
But are
that
the
the-
Dodgers willing to pay more, than the market's asking for? The Yankees are willing to do that because the Yankees are also in play for Ohtani over there in Japan.
Yeah.
and they like to stack their team, and they really don't care about a luxury tax. But so they'll pay whatever they have to pay to get what
To get the job done, to get to the World Series.
Yeah,
Because those 27 outs that they were away this time wasn't acceptable.
yeah, because you have Judge and Stanton in the same lineup. Come on, man,
That's a lot of bombs.
that's murder.
Speaking of which, congratulations to the young man Aaron Judge for winning Rookie of the Year. I think the downside to that is that Benintendi had a wonderful year and actually may end up being a better ball player, but
Yeah, just came up at the wrong time.
It came up at the wrong time. Great season for Aaron Judge. I mean, set the record all time for rookie home runs. It's clean. He's clean. It's a beautiful situation. It's a real resurgence for the game. I love that. And in the categories that remain, the MVP, I think it's pretty clear the MVP is going to be Jose Altuve, but we'll see about that. And on the National League side, I don't know who you got on National League MVP.
Oh, that's tough.
It is tough,
Come
right?
back to me.
Okay, we'll come back to you. But what we can say right now, definitively, is that we have our American League Cy Young, ladies and gentlemen, and that man is Corey Kluber, which is pretty incredible, to be honest, because Chris Sale had a monster season.
Corey Kluber had a monster season, and he didn't even pitch the whole season, which is unbelievable.
To me, which always actually, to me, makes you less, liable.
But not to me because he put in the minimum amount of innings.
Yeah, he was still
and
eligible.
he was crazy dominant, and they went on that win streak that can never be matched right now. That thing can be matched. That was
It can
unbelievable.
never be matched right now, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, it's murder.
It is murder. But Corey Kluber, I mean, forget about it. Corey Kluber was
Dominant.
completely unhittable.
When he first came out, he was unhittable when he first came back.
Yeah, until the Yankees got to him in the postseason. Now, Lou Severino had a monster season, and I wouldn't have been mad at any of the guys that would have been, could have won. I think Chris Sale's historic fading, like he always does, late into August and September, I think that hurt him this go around, but he still punched out a lot of dudes.
Yeah, but is it about punch outs or is it about, because Chris Sale got dug out too in the playoffs?
It's not about the playoffs at all, actually. So
Well, it's not supposed to be, but that's, but I have a strange feeling that it has a play in there. Because do you really believe that these guys don't vote until after?
I mean, from what they say, they don't.
I know.
They
I
say
said,
they
I asked
say-
you, did you believe that though?
Yeah, they say they vote before, at the end of the regular season.
I'm asking. You can't have the truth.
I can't recall. To me, National League Cy Young, I think I'm going with Steven Strasburg this year. And I don't know who it's going to be. We'll know very shortly.
Yeah, but I still haven't heard you answer the question.
Do I believe that they vote afterwards?
Yes.
I think I'm going to go with the Jeff Sessions on this one. And I can't necessarily recall whether or not I met with a Russian fella. I had me some Russian vodka when I was hanging out down at the outhouse.
And I passed out.
And then them boys, next thing I know, the sanctions was lifted. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it always seems like it factors in,
Well,
it always seems
Kershaw,
like it factors
18
in.
and 4, 2.31 ERA, 202 strikeouts, and 175 innings. That might be your MVP, dude. See, but this
No,
is
he's
what
not
I'm
going to be your MVP. He might be your Cy Young.
Cy Young. But what I'm saying is that now, I think that there's usually a backlash because I believe that they vote after the playoffs and everything else.
Right, you don't believe.
I don't believe. So in that, when they look and see that he didn't succeed in the World Series, they'll say, you know what, he didn't really get it done.
He didn't get it. Ooh, we don't know. We're going to find out shortly, but we'll be off the air, ladies and gentlemen. We also wanted to give a massive congratulations on a wonderful career to world champion Carlos Beltran. Now, this is how you do it, folks. You step out a winner. And he left on a super high note. He had an incredibly positive influence on the team that he played on this year. He's calling it a career at a point that is, he has nothing left to do.
Yeah. What does he have to prove?
He has nothing left to prove. There's nothing left that he can prove, nothing else he can do. He's a champion. He holds records in the postseason. He's a stone cold monster.
And he was a 5-tooler back in the day, and he was somebody that you didn't want to see in a big-time situation.
Did not want to see him in a big-time situation. Just plain and simple.
Although they threw that high cheese by him.
In Game 6. And Adam Wainwright jelly-legged him. Actually, they did want to see him at certain points.
Wayne O'Gotti
got him as a closer. Jelly-legged him when he was on the Mets.
in New York.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Man, that was a vicious 3-2 curveball.
Dirty.
Come on.
Why you carved my boy up?
He couldn't even pull the trigger.
Carved him.
Carved. All right, folks. Thanks for rocking with us here on the OZone. We ran a little bit over, but we know you love us. So thanks for rolling with us. We're going to leave you with a quote about wisdom. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you guys a quick funny story, but I'll save it for next week. The gist of it is I got bit by a stingray, but it's a really funny story. and I live to tell. I live to tell the story. I'm here. But I did get bit by a baby stingray, and it really, really hurt. So, back to the wisdom quote, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to leave you with some inspirational words. And let's see what it is today. Let's see what we're going to choose. We're going to say this. Life is not happening to you. Life is responding to you. You dictate what life hands you, folks. Be successful. Decide to be positive, generous, successful. We're all in this thing together. This is the Ozone. I am your host, Omar Miller. We'll see you next week.
Ozone.